That was part of today's Donald Trump speech. It has proven instantly controversial. And as we said, one of the reporters covering it for MSNBC pointed out the various points Donald Trump was making, pinning them against the GOP as presumptive nominee. For this discussion, let's bring in Hugh Hewitt, who conveniently hosts something called the Hugh Hewitt Show, heard on 120 different stations, 120 cities, the nationally syndicated show. Hugh, thank you for joining us. I'm going to read you these tweets from Benji Sarlin of MSNBC. Trump keeps angrily insisting Muslims in America aren't turning in terrorists. This is the platform of a far-right European party. The GOP has completed its transformation. The Muslim ban is now the #1 national security priority of the Republican Party. What say you to that?
I heard a different speech, Brian. I heard a speech in which the emphasis was, and I took away as the central quote for a piece that I'm writing, we need to tell the truth about radical Islam. And this was the opening that Mr. Trump made on Friday at the Faith and Freedom Forum, where he challenged the president to use the term radical Islam, and he challenged Secretary of State Clinton to do so. And he was beginning to segue into a speech that was supposed to be about her policy failures in Egypt and Libya and Syria and with the Russians. But instead, the horror of Orlando intervened, so he returned and focused almost exclusively on this, telling the truth about radical Islam. On my radio show this morning on the Salem Radio Network, I said, look, I had Joby Warwick of the Washington Post on, Daniel Silva, the amazing novelist whose new book, The Black Widow, will, I think, open many, many eyes. Others, experts, including Devin Nunes and Senator Rubio, who opened the door to running again because of this, they all are doing the same thing, calling on the administration to speak about how deadly is the threat. And so the speech that I heard, which incorporated, yes, the ban on Muslim entry into the United States, a renewed focus on their backgrounds, an allocation of resources into the probing of those people who are already here who show up. And you might even say he had been listening to Director Comey earlier in the day when Director Comey said he had reviewed the contacts we'd had with the killer, and he was confident that not more could have been done. Well, of course, we lack the deep web, dark web access on a moment's notice that is necessary to trace these people. So I heard a different speech, and I think it's one that will resonate with the American people. It is not bigoted. It is not xenophobic. It is purposeful in the way that, say, Israel is purposeful about those people who enter into Israel proper from the territories or from abroad. They just know their targets, and we have to develop the same sort of and his second thing was political correctness has got to go out the door here. We can't worry about hurt feelings. We have to worry about 50 dead people and 51 wounded people at the pulse. And I noted, Brian, as well, how open he was to saying and embracing the gay, lesbian, transgender community in their grief and in their sorrow. As one would expect from Donald Trump, no one has ever accused him in the remotest of being bigoted towards an LGBT community. And I just think he accomplished what he needed to do today.
A la Potter Stewart, we know political correctness when we see it. But what does that mean to you, that the inference that political correctness is holding us back or making us more vulnerable?
When the president spoke yesterday, he was clearly sorrowful. I believe that. He also clearly went out of his way not to say radical Islam, not to say that the JV team that he derided in his David Remick conversation, or Ryan Lizzet conversation of a few years ago, is now rampaging across the Middle East and pumping thousands of jihadis into Europe, more than 250 back to the United States is the assumption. Director Comey has said we have more than 900 plots spread across 50 states that we are monitoring. It is a terrible malignancy. And the president's refusal to name the problem is aggravating to those of us who've either spent time in the world of intelligence, as I have, or who are actively engaged in the war right now, and I've been doing that for 25-plus years, but who know that Mrs. Clinton's server, for example, compromises badly in that war, who know that the president may have, in fact, intervened again on the changing of Afghan war policy that was set to be announced last week. And so what Donald Trump did, and I salute him for it, is to change the pivot that people wanted, to make the pivot that people wanted. A week ago, a lot of Republicans were worried he was swamping not his own candidacy, but the fleet of candidacies in the Senate and the House, down ballot with governors and state legislators. Tonight, after the speech on Friday and the speech today and the upcoming one on Hillary Clinton, that I hope brings up Rajiv Fernando, and how did he show up on the International Security Advisory Board? He's got no qualification. Laureate University, President Clinton's, Bill Clinton's $16 million windfall, when at the same time the university was receiving $50 million from Hillary Clinton's State Department. That's all political. If he stays focused on especially the threat of radical Islam to the United States, he will be doing himself a great deal of benefit, and at the same time putting a spotlight on Secretary Clinton for, as I said earlier, her disastrous record at state. It was an utter failure.
To allow me to catch my breath following your tribute to Donald Trump, which I think you'll understand. I'm kidding. The control room tells me we have another snippet of Donald Trump's speech, so let's both listen to this. I don't know which portion, however.